And along your career and along your journey, you're gonna have these curves appear over and over and over again. But you have to keep in mind, guys, things are the hardest right before they get better. Things are the most frustrating right before they get better. Things are the worst right before they get better. And it's hard to remember that when you're going through it. It's hard to remember that when you owe every single creditor, when your wife or husband's yelling at you for spending too much time at work. It's hard to remember that things are gonna get better, but they are, and this is part of the process. And all of us go through these little curves. We all do it. And guys, it's the ones who understand that things are going to improve and keep focused on the end result that make it through these curves.
You gotta go get it. And what does that mean? It means that you trying to convince me or anybody else that you want to get it when you partying all week. As soon as you get any kind of money, you buying a bunch of shit that you really can't afford. It's time to stay focused. It's time to decide, fuck clubs, fuck partying, fuck trying to fit in and socialize. You still got work to do. Stay on that basketball court. Stay on that football field. Fuck all the homies texting and calling and trying to make you feel bad about being so focused. It's grind season, homie. It's not about today. It's about the future. You do the work now. And all of the shit that you could ever want to do for your family, your kids, your loved ones, it's all going to be on a whole nother stratosphere.
I'm going to show you how great I am. Great I am. Great I am.
This kid's going to be somebody better than anybody ever knew.
I'm going to show you how great I am.
I wanna fly, can you take me far away? Give me a star to reach for, tell me what it takes, and I'll go so high, my feet won't touch the ground. Just hitch my wings and pull the strings. I got these strings that all fall.
Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure.
It all started with a dream.
No, this is not a movie.
He could do it. If he could do it,
This isn't a movie.
he believed in himself. And you can too.
Oh man, you gonna put it on me like that?
You can do anything that you want. You can get singing lessons, get a better job, make more money. You could be even like rich. You could live in the White House someday. You could be president.
Me?
Do what you want to do.
You're
It's
amazing.
not about it's not up to other people.
It's true.
It's up to you.
I'm running to your side, flying my white flag, my love, where are you? My love, where are you? Whenever you're ready, whenever you're ready, whenever you're ready, whenever you're ready. Can we surrender? Can we surrender? I surrender.
This is Harlan David Sanders. Most of you probably know him as Colonel Sanders. At age 19, he became a father. A year later, his wife left him, so he became a cook and dishwasher in a small cafe. Years and years passed, and at 65, he eventually retired. On the first day of his retirement, he received a check from the US government for $105. He took this as basically the government telling him that he couldn't provide for himself anymore. He eventually decided that he wanted to commit suicide, so he climbed to the top of a mountain, sat under a tree, and wrote his will. But instead of writing his will, he actually wrote down all the things that he wished he would have accomplished in life. He started to write down all the things that he was good at, and the main thing that came to mind is he could cook a mean bucket of chicken. So he borrowed $87 on top of that $105 that the government gave him and bought a ton of chicken. He fried it up in the best way he knew how with his own recipe and started going door to door selling it to his neighbors in Kentucky. Just 23 years later, Colonel Sanders was a billionaire. And that, my friends, is how you make a difference.
I took an English class, I got a fail in English. And my English teacher said in front of the entire class, "Lisa, you have to be the weakest writer I've ever met in my entire life." Don't worry, my story ends good. Don't feel sorry for me. I got 7 under my belt. And then the same year, my speech teacher said, after giving me a D-, I knew I had an A in speech. Like, come on. He obviously didn't agree with me. He gave me a D- and said, quote unquote, "Miss Nichols, I recommend you never speak in public, that you get a desk job." So here's the beauty of that story. Other people's perception of you ain't none of your business. Everything you've ever been through, sat through, rose through, cried through, prayed through, everything is a setup for your next best season.
Unfortunately, earlier this year, the doctors found 4 tumours in my throat. I've never seen my wife cry so much in all my life. The doctor said to me, "Michael, we're sorry, but tomorrow's not guaranteed. You need to slow down." But that's one thing we all have in common, because no one's guaranteed. I think that life is not about the amount of days that you live on this earth, but it's about what you fit into those days that allows you to live a remarkable life. And I remember driving home, and she called me, my mum, and she said, "Mike, what'd the doctor say?" And I said to her, "Mum, everything's going to be okay." Every one of us, every single day, is blessed with the air that we breathe, the opportunities that we have. And I challenge you every single day to get out of bed and do something that your future self will be proud of.
This ladder stayed in the house yesterday. This ladder stayed outside. Right off the bat, this ladder looks better than this ladder. That's how we view people. We don't take into consideration that this poor bastard stayed outside all night in the cold and the rain and all the other shit. And sometimes all you need in life is a little bit of help. So y'all don't be too quick to judge. We all go through shit. Be there for somebody sometimes. They may need you, and by God, you may need them.
My girlfriend had been killed in a car accident, and my brother's band was performing, and we had broken up. She was trying to get me to come back home. I acted like I couldn't hear her because the music was too loud. I was planning on moving back in. I just was trying to teach her a lesson, and I was staying with some friends. So I just acted like I couldn't hear, and I was being really... She had left before us, and as we were driving home, we saw a car, and it was split in two, and we heard sirens behind us, so it had just happened, and we just kept going. And I found out the next morning that it was her in the car. And so that, of course, made me feel like I should have gone home with her that night. She wouldn't have been with that person. I should have stopped. Maybe she would have, all kinds of things. But a lot of guilt. I think it made me realize how fragile and how easily you can lose somebody. I mean, just literally in an instant, she just was gone.
This is Robert Downey Jr. But the first thing that probably came to your mind is that's Iron Man. At the ripe age of 5, his director of a father put him in his first film. Just a year later, at the age of 6, his father forced him to smoke weed, claiming it was a bonding experience for both of them. He grew up in the lifestyle of films and drugs, and eventually his parents divorced, so he started abusing drugs and alcohol every night. He became desperate for work and started applying for every gig that he could, and eventually had his breakthrough moment when he started working for Saturday Night Live. Unfortunately, a year later, he was fired because their ratings were terrible. His life started spiraling out of control, and he eventually checked himself into rehab when he realized he had a real problem. Years of failed movies later, his career hit an all-time low when he was arrested for multiple drug charges in 1996. His wife left him, she took their son, and he checked himself into rehab for the second time. Just a few years later, the world knows this man is a real-life superhero, becoming the highest-paid actor of all time, helping drug addicts recover, and even visiting sick kids in the hospital, in true Tony Stark style.
You gotta go get it. And what does that mean? It means that you trying to convince me or anybody else that you want to get it when you partying all week. As soon as you get any kind of money, you buying a bunch of shit that you really can't afford. It's time to stay focused. It's time to decide, fuck clubs, fuck partying, fuck trying to fit in and socialize. You still got work to do. Stay on that basketball court. Stay on that football field. Fuck all the homies texting and calling and trying to make you feel bad about being so focused. It's grind season, homie. It's not about today. It's about the future. You do the work now. And all of the shit that you could ever want to do for your family, your kids, your loved ones, it's all going to be on a whole nother stratosphere. It's time to stay focused, man.